speak up. Mina ngithi Mahlabe Zulu. Let's talk, let these be conversations we have at the dinner tables with our children and those that are old enough to understand what's going on, so that we create awareness about the evil that's about to befall Zimbabwe.
Hello and welcome to the site view on Asake Online. My name is Leslie Moyo. We are discussing the Zimbabwe Constitution Amendment Bill number 3, popularly known as CAB 3. And today I am joined by Mr. Dan Moyo, who is the MDC USA chairman, as well as the Diaspora Vote campaign leader. And he is going to give us mostly his views and that of the people who are in the diaspora in terms of their views on the attempts to amend Zimbabwe's constitution. Now, welcome to the program, Mr. Moyo.
Thank you, Leslie.
Maybe let's start with your perspective as someone who's seeing things maybe from outside. What is your take on this attempt by ZANU-PF to amend the constitution?
That will change the shape of the Zimbabwean politics, business, and everything included. Zimbabwe is already in dire straits. It's viewed already as a pariah nation by most progressive nations. And this will further solidify that narrative that Zimbabwe is a lawless country where constitutions are not respected. I recall way back in 2013 when the constitution that's being bastardized by ZANU-PF right now was consummated. We held in the United States where I live, we held several meetings, consultative meetings with fellow Zimbabweans on what they wanted to see in that constitution. And they were very clear. One of the first things everyone kept saying got us into trouble with Mugabe was the fact that the constitution was not clear on the terms that a president can serve. And this constitution, we made sure that a president is given 2 terms, 2 5-year terms. And that for that to change, there either has to be a referendum, because you have to go back to the people who gave you the mandate in the first place. And the other point on that constitution is that the current incumbent should not benefit from any amendments to the constitution. So CAB 3 violates every norm of what the constitution that we came up with represents. So from outside, it's a big no to CAB 3 for obvious reasons. But what I've noticed also is when I've been moving around here in Bulawayo, for instance, whenever this question comes up, uyabona nje abantu ukuthi ungathi abakhululekanga ukukhuluma ngalolu daba. So to me, that's suppression, that's oppression by the system, by the regime. When people now sebesesaba ukuthi bakhulume okusenhlizweni zabo, ngoba sibonile abomaduku beshaywa, aboBT beharaswa, so citizens are afraid. But thina sithi kuma citizens, fear is not going to fix this problem. I think this now requires courage from abantu beZimbabwe to stand up to the government and say, no, we're putting our foot down. We elected you. President is a very big position. You can't just willy-nilly change it through a few individuals in parliament who have already been bought. So this thing has been going on for a long time. Gradually, they build to get to where it is. Ama MPs, they are compromised. Look at the opposition. CCC MPs under Chabam. They are the ones singing louder than Nabantu ZANU in favor of CAB 3. Why? Because it's now politics of the stomach. Kubenefita bona, badla lapho, banikeza izimoto lapho, plus layabi term izo extend. And yet the country continues in shambles. I looked at the roads, I looked at the hospitals. Nothing is working for this country. I've been gone, Mina, from Zimbabwe now for almost 30 years. And every time mangibuya koBulawayo, I'll be hoping to see development ebonisayo ukuthi something is going. At least the crane eyi-1 ebonisa ukuthi kule building entsha eyakhiwayo. Nothing. So abantu laba bafuna isikhathi esinganani belokhu besincindezela izinto zingamuvi zingalungi.
But in their counter narrative, they are saying that ECAP 3 is bringing constructive reforms in the sense that they eliminate electoral toxicity and to align Zimbabwe to our regional norms. Like we have certain countries that are the president is elected through parliament, for instance, maybe South Africa. What is your take on that kind of a narrative?
To me, that's just them making an argument for the sake of an argument. We have never heard in South Africa of the levels of corruption, buying MPs and all that like we see here in Zimbabwe. We have a system where AMA MPs, they are no longer loyal to the people who voted for them, but they are now loyal to the people who are paying them. So what you are talking about is the AMA norms or something that we see in South Africa in terms of how they elect the president. You have to take into consideration the environment, the political environment there and the political environment here. In South Africa, Julius Malema can call for a rally, can call for a demo. Nobody stops him. La in Zimbabwe, for you as an opposition to even be allowed to speak nowadays, you have to get permission. So I think we are comparing apples to oranges here. We have to consider the underlying environment. If it is conducive, I'm sure Zimbabweans would want that. And I'm sure if you had to take it to the referendum, the Zimbabweans will tell you which side of the coin they believe in.
So that clause, I think, is one of the key clauses that they in the proposed bill, that Parliament, instead of citizens, get to them to elect the sitting president. How then does that affect us as voters in terms of our own participation? Already we've been seeing that there's been apathy that has been creeping in when people not coming forth to cast their ballots. Would that maybe also further entrench that apathy, seeing that people will feel like that voice has been taken away from them?
Definitely. The people should be the arbiters, the final arbiters of how they live. And when you go to elections to elect a president, you are putting your hopes and aspirations on that person as the leader of the country to take the country towards normalcy, efficiency, productivity, growth. Our people are being persecuted in South Africa, being called names, Amakwerekwere, Ntontoni, all because Tina as a people, we have sort of given up, to be honest with you. Some of us would be looked at as, no, labale. So, but those people who even say that for this economy to still be sustainable right now, it's the diaspora remittances. If singathumeli thina izihlobo zethu la ngabe ziyafa indlala. So we had to take that option to leave the country so that we could better the lives of those that were left behind and try and help rebuild the country, with fresh ideas, with knowledge from outside and so on that we can bring in. But that door has been closed on us as diaspora citizens. We sort of got thrown out like alawana sebephandle. One, you're going to deny them a vote.
But also, you speak of the role that the diaspora community is playing in Zimbabwe. But what sort of steps are you also taking now that we have this ECAP 3 that is before Parliament now? Maybe what sort of steps are you trying to do? Also, maybe to have your voice inputted into. Obviously, there were public hearings which were done, and we did not hear of any which were done in the diaspora. But although citizens were encouraged to send their submissions to Parliament, maybe did you by any chance also use that facility to send in your contributions?
Yes, we have, even though we know they're going to file 13 dustbin, they're not going to be looked at because Lavabantu, they've already told themselves what they want to do and how they're going to achieve it. They've already put things in place. And so, yeah, all our contributions, I don't think, because if our contributions were being taken into consideration, we would have seen a change in the approach towards this. We have not seen any change, which means that whatever input we have given as citizens is being ignored. And you also saw even our hearings that were happening here, they were stage managed. Only people who were pro CAP 3 were being picked up to speak. Other people were shunned. So you can already see Uguti, there's chicanery at play with these things. There's no honesty in this CAP 3. In whatever propaganda people are spewing that it will help develop this country, it's a lie. We have lived that lie through Mugabe's era, we're living that lie through Idris' era. I don't see anything positive, coming out of ZANU-PF.
Okay, then you did highlight earlier on in terms of how this huge step that the government wants to take in terms of amending the constitution, and several other voices, even within Zimbabwe, civil society, churches have also said that this issue should be taken to referendum. Maybe you can also come in on that one.
That's the reason why I called it a coup, a constitutional coup, because if you look at it, the constitution is very clear. There's an article that states categorically which changes, which amendments are subject to a referendum. And this is a very big amendment, and it should be subjected to that referendum. The question is, if they try to bulldoze it on the 15th, when the parliamentarians vote and bulldoze it without the people's input, to some of us, it is null and void. And we don't want to encourage people to act outside the law. But there's a time where people say, oh, ngasibufa. And I think we are reaching that point.
So as an opposition, if that the scenarios that you're painting out, if they get to that where this issue is passed by Parliament and the president signs it into law, what happens next?
I think Zimbabweans at that time, they really need to introspect and really look deep into themselves and ask Guguti, where is this country going? Should we continue along this path in perpetuity, or should we come together as we the people and stand up and be counted and demand, well, this is our country as well. By birthright, I am a Zimbabwean. I'm not a half Zimbabwean. I am a full Zimbabwean. In Kabayamilele, where I was born. And therefore, I have a right to this country. It's not for a few individuals who have captured the country. So and the Tina Abantu, we should just follow like lemmings falling off a cliff.
Maybe in closing, what would be your message either to those who are in the diaspora, the government, as well as citizens of this country who are based here?
I'm saying, Bantu Bagit, Zimbabweans, I think it's time we wake up from the slumber. We have seen other nations change their countries for the better, and we are being left behind because of apathy, because of not fully engaging in what's happening around us. Our schools are affected, our hospitals are affected, the roads are a mess, and we just continue every day. When you talk to people, you see Abantu, they've resigned to this season, the new normal. Why is it that we are accepting this? Why are we failing to speak up? Mina ngithi Mahlabezulu, Let's talk. Let these be conversations we have at the dinner tables with our children, and those that are old enough, we will obviously have to figure out a way. We can't obviously discuss strategies on a live broadcast, but we have to come up with a strategy that resonates with the people, a calling that makes people realize their worth and that they can stand up. I'm not saying start throwing stones, start breaking the law. No, I'm saying speak up. Use your voices. Speak up and say this is wrong. It might have consequences, but what doesn't have consequences in life? To me, the consequences our future generations are going to suffer are going to be 10 times more than what we'll endure, Tina, if we were to speak up against this Cap 3.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moyo, for taking time to speak to us. I was speaking to Mr. Dan Moyo, who was the MTC USA chairperson, as well as the Diaspora Vote campaign leader. And he was talking to us about his perspective of the CAB 3, that is the Zimbabwe Constitution Amendment Bill number 3, as well as the views, the perspectives of those who are in the diaspora. Let's meet again in the next edition of The Side View. My name is Leslie Moyo.